Good morning from Alton Towers Resort, and yes, summer is over. Summer is over, and we ventured slightly up north. We weren't really sure we were going to come to Alton Towers this year, or at least not till Scarefest. But we thought we would come up and just have a little look around. We're all kind of suited and booted. It's quite quiet at the moment. I have to say the entry to the park was probably best we've had anywhere. Really nicely laid out, nice long queues. You've obviously got to walk to the sky. The monorail is closed, so you can't get on that. And then once you get there, your pre-book is checked first. First thing, pre-book checked. Big tick for Merlin, because they don't normally get that one right at the other parks. You then walk around and you're segregated into a line, 1 to 5 I think it was. We were 5 because we didn't have a bag. I've got no bag with me, as you can see, so no bag. And then you go through, have your temperature checked. You then go to the gate where your pre-book is checked again for a second time. I'd actually closed it, so I had to reopen it. Scan your annual pass and then we come. Now that was the positive side. The negative side is it's about 9:15. It is quite early. They've let people straight in. There's no early rider for those that haven't been to Alton Towers yet, so there's no rides open at the moment. But we thought we'd go and join the Wicker Man queue to kind of get that out of the way nice and early. We know the park's going to be busy. It is going to be busy. It's probably going to feel oversold like the other ones have. So we thought Wicker Man's a good place to start. Unfortunately, Wicker Man was closed yesterday, which we weren't aware of, and isn't due to open today either. So we've come up this way. We're actually going to start with 13. For those that obviously know, 13 is one of our favourite rides, one of my favourite rides, so that's where the starting point is today, is going to be 13. We're then going to drift across. We're probably obviously going to look at Nemesis, my favourite ride, maybe Galactica, because I know it's on free, dual station free train, so that might run fairly quickly, and then kind of make our way back. There is a slight chance apparently that Wicker Man might open this afternoon. We'll just have to wait and see. So we thought we'd start up here. Obviously the tower dungeon, the Alton Towers dungeon is now open by appointment only. Pre-book ticket. To be fair, it was always pre-book tickets. There's nothing new there at all. But it is open in smaller groups. And of course, Gangster Granny. And you can see there the actual sign for the David Walliams area, Gangster Granny the Ride, which was due initially to open this year. That's with Raj's shop, the Royal Carousel, the old carousel ride, Gangster Granny the Ride, which is obviously the new attraction, and Raj's bouncy bottom burp, which is the old frog hopper. Apart from obviously Gangster Granny, we were kind of hoping there would be more in there. Now the fact this has been delayed till 2021, I'm still kind of hoping that maybe Alton Towers might revisit it, because my guess is the area is done, ready to open. It was ready to open before we went into lockdown. So I would guess it's ready to go. So I'm really hoping they revisit it and perhaps add something in, you know, like something. But of course, for those that didn't know and weren't aware, the carousel's actually been moved here. Don't know if you can see it. We'll get a closer look. So the big space which was preoccupied by the wave swing, anyone thought the wave swinger was still there, it's definitely not there anymore. Because there is the carousel. Might get a closer look down here actually, and you see the horses on the top, and there's a big fence up, but there is the carousel. So I can't quite see, you can't quite see because of the fence. You can see the fence, what's been placed in the middle. 2021 at the moment, Gangster Granny the Ride is coming. The carousel's confirmed to be moved over there for those that hadn't seen it, and we'll just have to wait. We'll have to wait till next year. It's using cutting edge technology in Gangster Granny the Ride there, that's what we've been told. Obviously trackless would have been nice, but I guess for such a small area it's not necessary. I mean, it's a reinvention of Cloud Cuckoo Land, and it will bring people up here, which I think is desperately needed. It's early. We are going to look to get on some rides. We're going to obviously tell you what's open as we go. We know Hex is open now. That opened a few weeks back, which is great news. It's one of our favourites. We will be going on Hex as well. And it'll be very interesting to see how the day goes with the amount of people that have been visiting Alton Towers, with all the distance and everything. It's been brilliant coming in. Gutted about Wicker Man. Really hope they get it open later, but there are still rides to go. So that's our update from Gangster Granny. We're not coming back up here today. We're not doing the dungeons. Need to go and find some roller coasters. here's a bit of the gardens I've never walked down. And I can tell you now, it's really slippery underfoot. So it'd be quite comical if I managed to fall over during this. Not for me, but probably for you. Negotiate some steps. Trying to avoid touching the handrail. Of course, the gardens were open before the theme park was this year, due to the pandemic. Oh, not a bloody clue where they came from either. Well, she appeared out of a bush. It's alright though, one of the kids has run off. Of course, Skyride, this is going to join the normal path in a minute, and hopefully it'll get a little bit wider because quite a few people walking down this way. I think the queue for the Skyride's quite high. I can't imagine you can share cabins at the moment. Gardens are beautiful, to be fair. I have to say, people were like, I don't know why we'd come down to gardens and why we would look around gardens especially. This is why. Oh my. God, I feel like I'm going through those. Oh, don't feel too safe on them. I mean, who knows where this goes? Who knows where this goes? Oh, Jesus Christ. Going over. Going over. I mean, again, considering the gardens were open, you would think this would be cut down a bit. And of course, for Scarefest, there is going to be a garden walk. I mean, this is perfect. Maybe that's why they're letting it grow. This would be a lovely garden walk. Dun-dun. Dun-dun. And I think we're back at the main path. Thank you, Alton, for propping the bins open during this pandemic time. Now then, we started with 13. It's actually now 20 past 11. 13 was late opening. What can you do? We had a few people in the queue that have been here yesterday, so that 13 was astronomical queue, sort of 120 plus minutes. And that is what it's advertised now on the app as well. It doesn't look it from here, but it's busy in the park today. It's busy in the park. So we decided to wait for 13, and it opened around about 10:30, which wasn't too bad. We were on it within 20 minutes. Really good ride. It's really well laid out in the queue line. It just happened the only people in the queue line that weren't following the social distancing were the people behind us, but everyone else was, which was great news. The chevrons are about 3 to 4 meters apart to allow for large groups. We had quite a large group behind us, but they just thought it was arrows, because it's literally where it's chevrons. It does just look like it's arrows to tell you which way to go. But the announcements to refer to the park are really, really good. Really, really strong over the tannoy from staff members. And they've also got some pre-programmed ones as well. So I have to say, no arguments there, no arguments at all. They've set it out really nicely. We then went to Hex. With no sign of Wicker Man opening at the moment. We thought, well, while we're up here, we'll go to Hex. We got in the queue. The queue's now around the back, so where you've got kind of the entrance sort of in front of you, you kind of go round to the left, join a queue into a sort of zigzag area, and then it kind of, you know, amalgamates into the normal queue before going indoors. We were queuing probably for about 10-12 minutes, I would probably say. And the queue started moving, and we were like, oh, this is really exciting. And we were just led straight out the exit, or what would have been the entrance to the ride. 5 members of staff standing there. Not one of them said a word. Not one. So we just said, oh, is the ride broken? Oh yeah, it is. And that was it. That's all we got. So it's kind of a typical Alton Towers, you know, start to the day. Wicker Man shut, possibly not opening. 13 open late, they said, because of the rain. It's actually cheered up a bit now, to be fair. Followed by Hex with just no information at all. You know, it's open, we were queuing, just let out. Nothing from anyone after 15 minutes of standing there. So I won't say it's not disappointing. Expect the park to be busy, which is absolutely fine. And you know, if Hex is broken down, at least tell people. 5 members of staff, not saying a word. Not saying a word. I will say I think the park is laid out really, really nicely, sort of left turns and you know, walk on the left, and you know, the spacing's really, really good. We're not seeing many people with masks kind of walking around the park, and I have taken mine off now because we're walking through the garden. There's no one here, look. Absolutely no one here. So that's why I've taken the mask off walking through the gardens, but we'll put it back on again when I get into sort of a more dense area. So we're heading over to Nemesis. Nemesis is open. Apparently got a 25-minute queue. I'm quite happy with that. Galactica's on 60 minutes. And we want to do Duel. So we kind of come with the premise today that we wanted to do Wicker Man, wanted to do Hex, I wanted to do 13, I wanted to do Nemesis, I wanted to do Duel, and then perhaps Oblivion. That was kind of the mission for today, knowing that it's going to be busy. Don't know how it's going to work out. Wicker Man might be shut all day. Hex, I'm going to have to come back to now because there's no communication as to what's going on with it. And we're going down 13. But we'll wait and see, we'll wait and see. We'll try and get you some more ride footage as we go around. I'm a bit surprised actually, given the queues, that people aren't walking through here. I haven't seen a single person. It's great, absolutely great. But onwards to Nemesis. So long Nemesis queue today. So many may be really unfamiliar as to this site here, but this is the top end queue to Nemesis, and I have to say, I haven't queued up here since opening week, which was 26 years ago. 26 years ago. Now this is apparently only a 35-minute queue. People are nicely distant, so we're nice stewards at the start telling us to keep on our chevrons. But yeah, this will be interesting. I'll take a look at the time and I'll let you know how long it takes. But yeah, not been up here in a long time. Not even sure they've used it in a long time. But with all the gaps and all the distance in, now's the time to use it. So it actually doesn't look like they've used that part of the dual queue line at all in ages. Wow. And yet the queue's at the door. This is a bit strange. Well, feed the flames. Can't feed the flames because sadly Wicker Man is closed today. I have to say, it doesn't look like there's any sign of life whatsoever. And whilst the music's playing and the mist is on, everything else seems to be locked up. locked up. So what you saw there, we went on Nemesis first. It's actually quite difficult. You do get these announcements actually in the background. It is quite difficult to film around. There's so many people. It's quite loud, to be honest with you. But we went on Nemesis first, and I just forget how quick Nemesis is. And it is my favourite ride in the UK. You know, with Vampire sort of coming in at you know, a close second, and that's nostalgic reasons. And after going on Nemesis Inferno quite a few times, and I know it's Kurt's favourite ride, and he'll shoot me every time I say it, Nemesis is just on another level. I'm really, really sorry, but when you get back on Nemesis, it's so quick, it's blisteringly fast. Really, really good ride on there. Again, really well laid out, queuing around that back bit. I haven't done that in years, absolute donkey's years. And I know they have used parts of it before, but I never remember queuing around the back. It's that long ago. And used to also queue around the turnaround point as well, down by the pit and the loop, but not anymore. They're not using that bit today. But cracking ride on Nemesis. Coming out of there, we decided to go along to Duel. It was advertised as a 5-minute queue, and you actually entered into the into like the graveyard section, and we thought, oh, you know, I don't know whether or not I want to queue in that. But once you got inside, I suddenly realised that it's cut off, and it's a short little journey round back into the house, 10-minute queue, no problems. And it's funny with Duel because we said when it was sort of rethemed, new lighting and new sounds, that actually it wasn't too bad. I prefer the music. I still prefer the music to the old music. I think it suits a haunted house environment far better than the upbeat music that Duel had. But after seeing the incredible work that they did on Tomb Blaster, particularly around the lighting, I have to say Duel isn't that good. Isn't that good at all. The lighting doesn't fit. You know, there's loads of actually really, really good props in there, really, really good potential scares, moving walls, things coming out of, you know, windows that you can't see anymore because there's no lights. And you know, the ultraviolets, again, they are actually a bit bright. And I think now I've been on Tomb Blast and seen what they can do with these kind of rides, yeah, Duel needs an overhaul. And I have to say, I think Tomb Blaster really does suit a shooting storyline. I think it really, really does. And whilst I'd like to see them remove the targets rather than switch them off at the beginning of Tomb Blaster, I think with Duel, quite honestly, it needs to go back to a haunted house. I think they're wasted. The guns are heavy, they're clanky, and I imagine the money involved in upgrading them to Tomb Blaster style ones. Bearing in mind Tomb Blaster was done first before Duel, and it just feels so out of date. Half the targets in there aren't working. You know, the targets cut off so early now that you know, I was putting the gun back when the camera went off, so it never got a good picture. It just feels better, I think, as a haunted house. I think clearer lighting, maybe some more props, and a really, really solid finale that people are going to remember, and that should be a haunted house again, 100%. It was one way coming out. People didn't really understand why it's one way and they couldn't walk up there. I don't really understand why. It's quite a tight gap. And you're sent through Haunted Hollow, but actually the other path is open down by Wicker Man, and you can walk around by Wicker Man. So really, in honesty, not too much of a detour, if any detour. And of course, it's sports fans of Wicker Man. We've just been in the shop. I've had a good look around in there. I've highlighted some potential t-shirts and hoodies. However, we wanted to get on the ride, which we can't do. 1:45, free rides in 2 3/4 hours. Actually, I don't think is too bad. At this current time, Wicker Man and Smiler are both closed, and Smiler has been closed for the last hour or so. It's kind of not a recent thing, which means the crowds have gone elsewhere. Oblivion sitting at 100 minutes. Nemesis was listed at 55. We got on and off it probably in about 40 minutes, which actually isn't too bad. I was quite happy with that, to be honest with you. Really quite happy with that. Galactica was listed at an hour. It is running Duel Station free trains. Given that one a skip to come along to Duel, and we want to go and check out the rest of the park, I probably want to get a bite to eat, maybe an ice cream. Fancy an ice cream today. I know it's been raining. Fancy an ice cream today. But I have to say, I really wanted to get on Wicker Man. Really, really wanted to get on it. We come, you know, it's quite a journey for me to come up here to go on these rides, and it's really disappointing that it's closed. And I know it's probably out of their hands, and it's probably something that you know, they couldn't help. But yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame. And of course, no mention of it anywhere. Not at the entrance, nowhere at all. Now, as we look on the floor here for the distancing, it has been brilliant in the park, actually. It's probably the best laid out park we've had. The stewards around, which they post on Twitter, I thought were there just kind of show for the day. Nope, they're telling you where to go, where to stand, particularly as you enter queue lines. Bearing in mind that queue lines obviously spill out. As you can see over here, they kind of spill out into the pathway. Yeah, really good. Really, really impressed. There are obviously people that can't see or don't want to adhere to it in any shape or form. And it's a bit sad, to be honest with you. It's a bit sad, whatever your thoughts are on it, that, you know, you're not going to get on the ride any quicker, so you don't really need to get any closer. That said, I'd like to find another ride that's open. I'd like to find another ride that's open. Not many people are coming up here to go in the shop, which is also a bit sad. There's some beautiful merchandise in there. Onwards, onwards for food. I think another attraction. 3 rides down. What else can we get on? You know, perhaps the cars are still in motion. I'm going to keep an eye on that one there. I thought they were closed, but maybe they're not. We're going to get in the Hex queue, and it's a bit disappointing because after earlier, obviously, where we were right over there, just about to go in, and then just the queue moved really fast towards the exit. We're right at the back of this 40-minute queue. Oh, it is, look, driving school is open. And it's still part of Cloud Cuckoo Land. How does that work? How does that work? Hex, a legend of the towers. I'll tell you, it's a ride that never gets boring. It's a fantastic dark ride. The story, the build up, the room by room, it's just amazing. It really is. And of course the ride itself, you know, you either love it or hate it in terms of it being disorientating and you know, building together for the complete story. Personally, absolutely love it. Changes in there. I have to say, it seems the most painful queue of the day. The whole process has taken just over an hour from queue to where we are now at the exit. It's kind of restricted to probably less than 30 people as a general rule. When you get on the ride, to give you an idea, it's 1 bench off, 1 bench on, 1 bench off, 1 bench on at the front row, and then behind it it's alternate, so it's off, on, off, on, off. And that's kind of how both sides work. Throughout the ride there's massive markers on the floor where to stand in the cinema room, and all the rooms have the fire exit doors open, so they're not dark anymore, but it is allowing some airflow. So there are a few changes. Obviously I quite like it quite dark in there, so it's a bit of a shame on some of them, but I do understand the ventilation purpose on it. Now, Alton Towers have announced their Scarefest for this year. Pretty much the same event, it seems, of what they've done in the past, plus a few additional sort of walk areas. We mentioned the gardens very briefly earlier, because it looks like the garden's going to have some kind of walk, and we're going to head around there shortly and have a look. Whether or not they'll have actors, we're not sure. It doesn't seem like they're going to have. They're just going to have like a spooky walk, a bit like the Haunted Hollow. I have to say, I don't remember this bit being done last year. I probably didn't even notice. But the attic, actually, because after a few years of really, really bad Scarefest, and I mean, they were dreadful, I have to say the attic was fantastic last year. Absolutely amazing. Right up there it was. You did climb right to the top. Yeah, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. We really, really enjoyed it. Of course, from the attic we had subspecies, which I still hated. I don't understand. I don't understand the math thing around subspecies. I just couldn't stand. I just don't think it was a very good maze. Not that intense, and going around in a circle for ages on end really didn't appeal to me in the slightest. And Project 42 over in the Subterra building, which was equally as bad, if not worse, actually. Somehow it was probably worse. So yeah, we want to come back for Scarefest. I really don't know how it's going to work. It'll be really interesting to see how it does work, but we love the attic and obviously trying out the new ones. It seems like Chessington have cancelled sort of Halloween, you know, in terms of mazes and things. They're not advertising anything. Foot Park really haven't announced anything quite yet. Legoland looks like they've cancelled a few things, but it also looks like the fireworks might be back on here as well, which I'm really surprised about, because there is no way, no matter how many markers and bits of tape you put up, with the people they let in, they'll be able to social distance during fireworks. It'll be really interesting to see. But watch this space. We'll do a video soon on the Scarefest and indeed any Halloween celebrations that are actually coming this year. But bearing in mind, Halloween Horror Nights is cancelled. I'm a little bit shocked we're going ahead with it. That was one of the worst social distancing moments we've experienced, I think, at a theme park this year. As rather than just opening a gate for a ride they knew was going to open, everyone just piled into the bush. And now we've got to start leaving space. do well if you can get on that in 60 minutes. Really well. Make a note of this crowd steward coming up just here, look. That's fun right here. People have certainly been waiting for Wicker Man to open. That was entertaining, I think it's fair to say. That was Wicker Man, and we've been waiting to get on Wicker Man all day. It's sort of 3:30 now. It is quite late. They did say it would open in the afternoon, to be fair, contrary to some people saying it wouldn't open at all. It seemed that they did know it was going to open today, which was great. A little bit of rain, and I will say I love Wicker Man. It's really an underrated ride. It's got a little bit more rickety, I would probably say, this year. A little bit rougher. Might have been the rain, but we went on it in the rain last year. And it was amazing, and it's still an incredible ride. Really, really top draw ride, and I can understand why it's so popular at the park, and it was popular. Now then, why I said look at that guy, and you know, people can moan at me all they like, but you know what happened is that we went over there to get a hot dog. I was just eating a hot dog. And when you look over and you see management standing there looking over the ride, you kind of get the glimpse that something's about to happen. So I waited and waited, and then we saw a train go around, and it was quite obvious the ride was in testing and was going to open. Now that particular person in question went up to everyone in that area and said, by the way, it's going to open in 15 minutes, start a queue. By the way, it's just about to open, it's definitely opening, start a queue. And it caused a little bit of a panic queue to build past the Wicker Man. So not the other way where we've just pictured the queue, but past the Wicker Man. Now of course he's won the crowd stewards, and then of course more crowd stewards arrive, a couple of security arrive, and the Wicker Man people arrive as well. Now the ride host turned around and said, look, you know, stop queuing, you need to go, you know, it's too busy here, you need to leave. By which point the damage was done, because word had got back from the original saying that it was about to open. And you know, with trains going around on the track, that is exactly what was going to happen. Now because people were queuing the wrong way, they then just said, you know, and I know it's difficult, I think they knew the ride was going to open. I don't think there's any doubt they knew the ride was going to open. But you know, they've got an extended queue line open, which you've just seen before you actually enter the Wicker Man Park. And the split decision to turn around to say everyone on the left hand side to queue on the right hand side was absolute car crash, and whoever thought that was a good idea needs to be shot. I'm sorry, it needs to be shot. Even outside of pandemic times, it was an absolute crush into bushes, into walls. Everyone just piled in. Everyone who thought they were at the front of the queue all of a sudden were in the middle of the queue. Absolute car crash, when really they should have just opened the gate and let the queue through from where it was. Needless to say, I put a picture on the screen now. That was my view of it, as I was being shoved into a bush by people on my left that thought they were entitled to just come into that queue. Absolute car crash, 12 members of staff there, and that was the decision made. Can't sugarcoat it. Had it not been said in the first place, this ride's going to open in 15 minutes, which I watch it spread between friends, between groups. We literally stood there and we watched it spread. We overheard it. It didn't tell us, oddly enough. We were sitting next to two of the groups, but didn't tell us. But we overheard it, and we overheard people saying it. Had that not been done, the queue wouldn't have got so big so quickly. And then the decision to move people to one side to the other, and then we had to wait probably about 2 minutes, literally sandwich. It might even have been longer, before they opened the extended queue, and then they stopped people at the front, which made far more sense, because we could all distance, and people did generally distance, and you know, throughout the ride as it gradually opened, people were distancing absolutely fine. You know, we've given the park huge credit today for the way they've dealt with things. That was a car crash, an absolute car crash. Whoever made that decision and watched that unfold really ought to be disciplined for that. I'm absolutely sorry. It should have been disciplined for that, regardless of the fact we're in a pandemic time. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. And again, I don't care what people think, whether you're a believer of this or not a believer of this. You know, it was dangerous. It was a dangerous thing to do, regardless of the situation and the distancing. That said, love Wicker Man. Absolutely loved it. And you know, we've actually got on all the rides we wanted to go on now today, which is fantastic. It's a reasonable time, so we are going to head over to Oblivion. Not Smiler. Smiler's queue, it seems like is reaching its peak and they're closing it off. You know, it's listed as closed now, but with a full queue, so I'm guessing it's quite busy. People are running to Wicker Man at the moment, as you can imagine. It's been shut apparently all day yesterday. It's only just opened for today, so even people that were here yesterday now kind of just need to do that to finish off. Now this is normally, this time of the year, the site of Halloween. And whilst the Mine Tours is down there, and I very much doubt needs any work done, things like subspecies would normally come out of here. However, all the containers are over there by the games bunker. Now, I'm not too sure what the theory is behind that, but that certainly looks like it. We can see a few things advertised down there. We will walk down there later and have a quick look as to what's going on. But yeah, it doesn't look like they're going to use this year. I believe the attic, I mean, you can see a lot of the electric boxes up there from the attic area, because you can see the way it's curved in from where it's like an attic roof. So the attic is right there. And obviously the Mine Tours is down here. I very much doubt they've changed and moved or anything's happened other than they've blocked it from public view. I'm not even sure if this was open, to be honest, at the beginning of the season, or indeed for the garden days. I don't know if the Towers was open or not, but you know, that's clearly the attic, and the Mine Tours is down there, so it's just subspecies. So whilst everyone else is cancelling or scaling down their events, it looks like Alton Towers are going to go full steam ahead. And that maze was cracking. Can't wait to get back in that again. I'm going to head round to Oblivion now, which is just peeking just over there. So this bit is another one-way path which kind of rejoins up there at the top of the chicken shack, but oddly enough up there is probably the tighter area. It's closed off by the Mine Tours. Probably would have been a better place for it. Smiler currently sits at a it says 65-minute queue, 60-minute queue, but that's all it can take. That's the max queue line. It doesn't spill out onto the path, so if you can't get in, you can't get in. You have to just wait for it to die off. At the moment there's a little bit of space, to be fair, before we come over here to Oblivion, which is advertised at a 45-minute queue for Oblivion. So it's definitely fairly busy at the park today. It's nice to see the mist on, I won't lie to you there, love seeing the mist on. Look at that. It really does add to it. We must have a little train coming around now. There we go. Love it. Love the way it's sucked down afterwards as well. Really, really cool, Oblivion. Look at that. Look at that. Of course, Oblivion was the world's first vertical drop roller coaster back in 1998. However, it's not quite vertical drop. You know, the useless information of the day will be that the reason why love the way it sucks it all down afterwards in the hole. So while advertised as a vertical drop roller coaster, because that is sort of the model, when it was built the guide wheels wouldn't touch the rails if it was vertical, because obviously there'd be no way of doing it. And since this inception and the second inception, something like SheiKra at Busch Gardens, it's actually now got spring-loaded wheels, guide wheels underneath. So no matter what happens, no matter what angle it's at, they would clip and attach to the track. And of course, they can't change this now. Whether or not it's got the new wheel system would be really interesting to find out. But also, when you talk about the train going floorless and things, there's other things to consider other than just taking away the floor. It's short and sharp, Oblivion. I actually think it's held the test of time quite well. And I know a lot of people won't agree with me, but I prefer the drop on this to SheiKra. The hole just adds so much to it. I much, much prefer the drop of this. But obviously it would be nice to have some other elements as well. But there we go, that's Oblivion. I can't see it ever changing. I can't see the park getting rid of it. I can't see it ever being extended or anything, or going floorless for that matter. But great ride and stable lineup of the UK coasters. But you know, when we talk about new rides for other parks, if we don't get an RMC down at Fort Park, you know, this would be the next best thing in my view. Not a flying coaster, but a really good vertical drop coaster. So spine chilling outdoor maze coming for 2020. There's the dates. Halloween is indeed confirmed. Be interesting to see how it pans out. So here are the events being advertised. Oktoberfest, 11th of September to 4th October. I guess that's to drive people in September when they're generally quiet. Scarefest then kicks off on the 9th and the 11th, and then 16th to the 16th of October to the 1st of November. And they're advertising fireworks as well, with big crowds. Now, of course, at the moment, they can't have big gatherings. And I cannot see the way they sell out on these, that any distancing could happen in fireworks. So I'm surprised, given the cost of setting them up, that they're even bothering. But they are. There's Alton Towers Resort. I've got an ice cream mountain. I'm going to eat that, and then we're going to sum up. That was a long walk back. No monorail at the moment, so long walk back. We'll sum it up. It's been a really good day at Alton Towers, and it'd be unfair for me to say it's not. The entrance was seamless, absolutely seamless. Everyone checked everything, and we know people were being turned away for not pre-booking. So remember to pre-book. On the pre-booking front, if you're an annual pass holder, although it may look like the park is sold out for weeks, make sure you check every single day, because the park do release tickets, usually in the morning and again at night, for within the next 48 hours. So make sure you double check. You know, you need to plan obviously a break and everything in advance. It might not be possible to do so, I do understand that, but if you kind of can go on the, you know, on the spur of things, make sure you check. Everything's laid out really nicely. The announcements are great. We didn't see as much sanitised of what we've seen around the other parks, but it is available before and after the ride, and obviously toilets are open for you to wash your hands. Everything's laid out nicely. People generally actually really good here, probably better than anywhere else in general, except the one moment, and that was Wicker Man, and it's nearly ruined the day for me. For the simple reason that, you know, I was standing at the front. I knew it was going to open, just kind of got the feeling it was going to open, so I was standing at the front, and you know, I moved to the right so I could get into the queue, and I literally just got shoved, absolutely shoved straight into a bush. You know, it's got these kind of rocks along there, more sitting the sign of height, so it's straight over these into a bush, and it was really uncomfortable. That's not, you know, take the social distancing measure out of it, it was really uncomfortable, and it was all led by poor staff decisions, nothing else. Yeah, I know what you're going to say. People could have social distance. Absolutely they could have. Absolutely they could have. But they were social distance the other side in the queue line. So why to move it from one side to another and cause a mass panic for the people at the back, bearing in mind there's obviously other people in the park as well, and they would have lost their place, was ludicrous to then open the gates 2-3 minutes later. Absolutely ludicrous. And it was a squash, and it was uncomfortable, and for social distancing it didn't exist. And yeah, really poor decision. Cannot sugarcoat that decision for the park. Absolutely terrible, and it nearly ruined the day, but we've had a good day. You know, I understand what times we're in. I've worn my mask pretty much all day. Times I've taken it off to talk to this. Been in a really quiet location, gardens tucked away in the corner by the towers, and obviously now in the car park. You know, it's been really good to get back on some of the big rides. You know, 13 probably suffers the most if you're coming. There's no doubt about that, because of the water dummies on it. It suffers the most capacity. Other than that, the rides have moved really smoothly. And you know, I still think it feels a bit busy. You can judge by yourself from obviously the pictures as we've gone round today. I still think it feels a little bit busy. That said, because there's no fast track, it moves wonderfully. Quite simply, the queues just continuously move, and that's kind of what you want when you go to a theme park, and that's what fast track kind of does. Not having it, that's what it does. So what it feels busy, it might not be. It might be an optical illusion. I don't know how they're going to do fireworks. I can't quite get my head around how they're going to do fireworks, because they've got this many people in the park and they're putting fireworks on. It's an absolute no. Not a chance that people are going to be out of distance. But that's obviously something that's going to come up in the next couple of months. It is starting to rain now. I want to say we've had a good day from Alton Towers. The rides are running well. Yeah, there was a few late openings, and I know Wicker Man, well, I didn't know Wicker Man had been broken, but you know, they got it open, been on it, it's riding really well. It's at mass capacity, and a massive credit to the staff. They are working really fast on every single ride. There's no messing around, there is no hanging about. It's literally get on, check, restraints, go. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant on every ride that we've been on today. So yeah, from Alton Towers Resort, we'll probably be back for Scarefest. Can't see why we wouldn't be. We tend to come up every year. Although I say I'm never going to, we tend to come up every year, and actually I'm quite looking forward to the attic, I'm not going to lie to you, so we'll probably come up from there. But from UK theme parks, if you've been to Alton Towers, be sure to leave your comments below. I know not everyone agrees with my opinions when I come here, but you know, we'd be all boring if we were all the same. We'll see you next time.